700 years ago, a small village was founded here at the confluence of two rivers. It had a population of about 200 people, and they lived in wigwams, which were like small huts made out of wood and thatch. The village was attacked and burned down by the Iroquois Confederacy, forcing the people to flee to what is now Albany, New York. But over time, the memory of the village faded into obscurity. No one even knows what the name of it was. Fast forward to 1624 when a Dutch trading post was established here. They named it Fort Orange after the color of the local soil. And just like that, a new village was born. But unlike their predecessors, the Dutch actually kept written records, including a map that depicted the settlement as it looked in 1658. And as you can see, it looked pretty much exactly like every other village in the Dutch Empire. Which really isn't very surprising considering that they planned all of their settlements to look identical so that they could easily be replicated anywhere. In fact, this map isn't actually that helpful because everything on it is labeled in Dutch. So let me recreate this map without the text so you can get a better idea of how the settlement looked. Alright. So this is what the map would look like if those pesky Dutch labels weren't in the way. Unfortunately, there aren't many surviving maps like this one from 1658. So, I really wish that someone had made a map of Fort Orange in 1624 or later on in 1664 when the English took over the settlement because I think that it would be really cool to watch the city grow. Over time, now eventually the English renamed the settlement to New York after the Duke of York. And as the city grew, it absorbed the surrounding villages, and by 1827 it incorporated the area of present-day Greenwich Village, which led to the demolition of the old Fort Orange in 1827. But before that, an artist named John Vanderlyn made a painting of the fort in 1823, and although it looks pretty detailed, it's actually not entirely accurate. For example, these buildings didn't exist in 1658. But they probably looked similar to what they looked like when they were actually built in the early 19th century. And this same criticism can be applied to most of the artwork depicting what the city looked like in the 18th century. Okay, so for this project I needed to find a photograph of Manhattan in the 1860s that wasn't a painting or a sketch or an inaccurate reconstruction. After searching for a while, I found this photo of a crowd gathered at the Battery in 1860. This photo is great because it shows what the skyline looked like from a specific viewpoint at a specific time. And by finding other photos with the same exact perspective, we can reconstruct what the skyline looked like at any point in history. So, I started looking for more photos from the same location, but I couldn't find anything that was published before 1886. That's when I realized that something was off. So I grabbed my things and headed over to the library to do some research. There I discovered that the earliest known photograph of the Battery was taken in 1869, but I still couldn't find a photo from the 1860s. So I kept searching and eventually came across a book titled The Illustrated News: A History of New York, which contained this photo of the Battery published in 1863. And finally, after years of searching, I was able to find another photo of the Battery published in 1862. Now having two photos from different years gives us enough information to accurately reconstruct the skyline in between those years, and after doing that, I noticed something strange. All of the tallest buildings in the 1860s were built on landfill. In fact, in 1827, the entire tip of Manhattan was just a swamp. So these buildings wouldn't have existed at all if the swamp hadn't been filled in. In the 1820s and 30s, the city was booming. So the wealthy elite decided that they wanted to make more land for exclusive private development. This led to the creation of a new park called Battery Park in 1828. But soon after, the city began filling in the swamplands south of the park because they were unsightly and unhealthy. This eventually led to the construction of the tallest buildings in the city at the time, like the Astor House, which was demolished in 1864. And its successor, the new Astor House, which burned down in 1883. And finally, we get to the modern day. I mean, yeah, it's cool to look at old photos of the city, but there's nothing like being here in person. But that's all I've got. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.